Today, let's talk about one of the most dangerous forces in human history, power. But maybe not in the way you think. We're not just talking about power itself, but that insidious temptation that comes with it. The one that can corrupt even the best intentions when our ego is left unchecked.
And that brings us to the big question, the one that really echoes throughout history and is going to guide our entire discussion today. What happens when we gain power but lose humility? As we're about to see, the consequences are not only profound, but, well, they're tragically predictable.
So first things first, the Quran doesn't actually argue that power is just plain evil. No, it frames it as something way more interesting, a deep, difficult test of our character, of who we really are.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Any kind of influence, whether it's authority at work, financial wealth, or just your standing in a community, it has this dual potential. It can be a tool to make you a better person, or it can become the very weapon that leads to your downfall. It is the ultimate double-edged sword.
Okay, so how does this test of character actually play out in the real world? Well, the thing is, we don't even have to guess. History itself gives us a crystal clear, repeating lesson on what happens when power is misused.
To show us this, the source dives into the stories of prophets like Musa, Ibrahim, and Nuh, who you probably know as Moses, Abraham, and Noah. And in their stories, a timeless pattern starts to emerge. It's a pattern that shows up again and again whenever a difficult truth confronts entrenched authority.
And that pattern? It's surprisingly consistent. You can almost break it down into 4 acts. First, a moral guide shows up, calling people back to a higher purpose. But then, almost immediately, the powerful elite, the ones with everything to lose, they resist. They push back, because the message threatens their control. When that doesn't work, they turn to mockery, to threats, and finally, as history always shows, a consequence for that rejection. It always arrives.
So why focus so much on this repeating pattern? Well, the point being made is a powerful one. These stories aren't just ancient history. They're meant to hold up a mirror to us. See, history doesn't repeat because of dates or events. It repeats because the root cause, good old human arrogance, is a timeless struggle that we all face.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Not at all. The source also gives us a powerful counterexample, a sort of antidote to this arrogant power. It introduces us to a group of people who are defined not by how they dominate others, but by their deep, unwavering humility.
This group is called the servants of the most merciful. And this is a really important idea. Their greatness, their honor, it doesn't come from controlling other people. It comes from the much, much harder work of mastering themselves, from an unshakable internal discipline. And when you look at their defining qualities, it paints this incredible picture of a totally different kind of strength. It's a strength you find in walking humbly and responding to ignorance, not with anger, but with peace. It's about quiet reflection, staying away from arrogance and excess, and always speaking truth with compassion. This isn't weakness. It's a complete redefinition of what power even means.
And here is the crucial takeaway from all of this. True, lasting power isn't about governing people or lands or businesses. It's about the much harder task of governing your own ego, your own desires, your own knee-jerk reactions. That internal self-mastery is the only real foundation for just and authentic leadership.
So what does this kind of humble leadership actually look like in practice? Well, the source gives us the ultimate case study. A king who had almost unimaginable power, but managed to do it the right way. We're talking about the prophet Suleiman, or Solomon. He's highlighted because his power was just legendary. I mean, he didn't just command massive armies and rule huge kingdoms, he could even communicate with the natural world. By any measure you can think of, he had more power than almost anyone in history.
But what's truly incredible is his reaction to all this. When he looked out at his incredible kingdom, his first thought wasn't, wow, look at what I've built. No, it was, this is a favor from my Lord to test me. He knew, deep down, that his power wasn't a personal achievement. It was a profound spiritual responsibility.
This really boils it all down to 2 totally different mindsets, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the arrogant view which sees power as ownership. It's my right, my control, my status. But then there's the humble perspective, the one Suleiman lived by, which sees power as a trust. It's a temporary test, a huge responsibility, and a favor that could be taken away at any moment.
So let's bring this home. What does all this ancient wisdom have to do with us, right here, right now? In this last section, we're going to connect these timeless lessons directly to the kinds of power and challenges we all face in the modern world.
Because, let's be real, power today isn't just for kings and prophets.
It takes so many forms that test us every single day. Think about it. The influence you have on social media, the security that comes with having money, the visibility you get online, or even the authority you hold in your job. Every single one of these is a modern-day test of the heart.
And that timeless principle still holds true. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO, an online creator, or a community organizer. The warning is exactly the same. Any leadership that's not grounded in humility is built on a fragile foundation, and eventually it's just destined to collapse under the weight of its own ego.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most piercing question that this whole discussion leaves us with, and it's aimed directly at you and me. The question isn't if you have influence, because we all do in some way. The real question is this: does your influence, whether it's big or small, make you more humble, or does it make you more proud? That's the test we all face.